Good afternoon. Today we are here. I'm Lisa Blount and I'm your host this afternoon. We're going live talking about Black joy. We're talking about the things that are impacting our joy. Sorry, how do I stop that? We are talking about things that impact our joy and how we maintain our joy in the realm of everything that is happening right now and today. So I am here with, hold on, Dr. Kimberly Chandler.
Yes.
Um, And I need we're going to talk about a couple of things today. Today we're going to talk about the SAVE Act. We're going to talk about because the act is called the Save America Act, but which sounds good. But let's talk about expanding what that actually means. Let's talk about how safe America is with this act. We're going to talk a little bit about ICE, immigration control. What is it called? What does ICE stand for? Whatever, ICE. Just ICE. I can't even think of what it stands for at the moment. But we're going to talk a little bit about ICE and how that impacts us. And we're going to talk about the Iranian conflict. But let's talk about, we won't wrap up without talking about how that impacts us all. So, hold on. I need to pin us both. That's the problem. Pin. And, all right, there we go. So, hello. You ready?
Hey, yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So now that we are here, let me also put this on Facebook to show. All right, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to start with pick one,
Well, let's start with Iran war. That's what's happening.
because that's where we at. That's
So
the
we at. Yeah, yeah,
let's start with that, and then let's go through some of the elements of this thing.
right. So, the biggest thing is I think with all of these together is that sometimes there's so much going on that we can check out because there's so much going on. But I think
Right,
these things are important because they impact our everyday life. And so when you think about the Iran war, right? Iran, we actually, when President Obama was president, we had a deal with Iran for them not to create a nuclear, um, some type of nuclear, bomb or whatever, so that it would reach America. But when Trump came in, he blew that up. And so now here we are, we're at war, a trumped up war, um, that is not about anything other than maybe oil or land or something like that. So it's not regime change, because taking out the head of their uh, um, not really it's not really the head of their country, um, because they have a regime that's over their country. So they have a figurehead. So it doesn't mean that they don't have strong arms that are over their country, right? All it does is put us in jeopardy because you have Iranian sales that are in America right now. So you don't know what could happen on American soil. We've already had people from America that have been hurt, have died over in the Middle East right now. So it's important. I think what's important for us to recognize is that we have to stay plugged in and vigilant because it can impact us and it does impact us. However, we can't allow these things um, to frighten us, to keep us in some heightened state, um, so that it impacts our mental health in a negative way, right? But we still have to stay plugged in because we understand
right,
administration that we have can use these things as a ruse, use these things to, put the war here and they're doing something, on the other hand, right? And that happens all the time because of the administration that we had. And so we got to stay plugged in. I think that's what's most important.
No, absolutely. And I think that for a lot of people, what happens is, I think we talked a little bit earlier, for a lot of people, what happens is we get off on a tangent because
Okay.
this becomes more about doom and gloom. But this is not about really doom and gloom. This is not about like us deny, but it's also black. Let's talk, even go back to black joy. Black joy is also not about us denying our reality. Like
Right.
it is the thing that exists as that has been I want to say exacerbated, but that has been amplified as a result of things that have we have experienced. So this is not about us pretending that things don't exist, but this is how we have survived.
Yeah.
um
Yes.
but this information is also, it brings context.
Yes.
It talks about how it affects and impacts our mental health and our mental well-being, and it can help us with regulation, because one thing we don't want to do is be so into it one way that we are just completely dysregulated. So we're going to talk a little bit about how it affects our nervous system, how it makes us nervous, how it affects our body, how that shows up. But also we don't want to be so put off by it, which happens, that we don't address it, we don't see it, we act like it doesn't happen, it doesn't affect us either way.
Yeah.
um
For sure.
but so let's go back, let's talk a little bit about why this situation with Iran matters, what we're seeing, what's going on, why does this matter in the context of black people, and what we experience.
Again, it matters because it has a direct relationship to our everyday lives, right? Iran is, they have the largest military in the Middle East, right? This is not some little, fly by night military, right? And it's like awaking a sleeping giant, right? And who knows who are their allies? Who knows who will ally with them, right? So again, this is a war. This is a war. This is like Iraq 2.0. And there is no plan to end it. That's the thing. He has gotten us in a war with no exit strategy. And so that's why it looks like Iraq 2.0. And so it's important for
Who
us.
started the Iraq war? Because that's important too.
Can we
Was
go
it George Bush?
first? Remember weapons of mass destruction, and then we
Mm-hmm.
found there were none.
Mm-hmm.
And so there again, it's a ruse, it's a lie. We are fed these things, but it's important for us to not check out because we feel like, oh, they just lied. We're not going to pay any attention because it's always something. Yeah, we know it's always something, but what we have to do is filter through all the noise so that we can find out the truth, which that's why a lot of times, and oftentimes, our independent news sources like a Don Lemon,
Mm-hmm.
like Joy Reid,
Mm-hmm.
even, and I will say
NPR.
NPR. I will say this on Legacy News, Rachel Maddow on 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays. That's probably the only one I would say on a legacy news station on MS Now that has accurate news. But it's important to stay plugged into those news sources. And I say Don Lemon because a lot of independent news people come on his show, which is every day, 10 a.m., 5 p.m. Staying plugged into those which aren't constant. It's not the constant 24-hour cycle what you would get on your CNN, your MS Now, is more helpful than the 24-hour cycle. You won't feel as bombarded, as overwhelmed, but you still could find out what is going on and be plugged in to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's and that's super important for us to be engaged, but to be plugged in. But it's also it just it does more for us than we know. I think because a lot of times because it is so much, it's constant, 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 constant. It's like okay, enough.
Yes,
So I mean I do think it's super important to know, like you said, when to pull out. It's also important to know that you can listen to reputable people, get that news, hit it and quit it,
yes,
and go back to something else.
yes, definitely.
Because we don't want people led to this stuff is heavy. It leads to chronic stress, it leads to overload, and we don't want to be laden with that. But how do you how you regulate it is the important thing.
Exactly. And we got to remember that we are in a democracy. We can't be led astray by some of these social media narratives. We got to remember social media, a whole lot of junk on social media just does not exist. It's just a world that does not
Can you
exist.
say that again, please?
It's a
Can
world
you
that does
say
not
that again?
exist. It's a world that does not exist.
No, it really, it's a really, it is, and I'm even now, like the amount of things that people say to me, even as a licensed professional, and I'm sure you experience this too, but as
Yeah,
a licensed professional who has studied the field, studied the data, worked with the people,
right,
and somebody come along and say, "Oh no, that's not this, it's that," just be
right.
based on what they think, and
Yeah.
because they're entertaining or because they look, their personality is one that attracts people to listen. People lean in and they listen, and let me hear. I think that's so important to say that a lot of things that you might be listening to might be junk.
It's just junk.
You have to be able to weed out who is a reputable source and who is the person that is just entertaining.
It, that's it. When you look at social media, just think of it as entertainment. Period. That's it. Anybody can go on social media and say anything. And so that is it's an extension of the television. And here's the other thing. Chat GPT is not your therapist. Can I say it
Oh,
again?
oh, wait, say that again.
Chat GPT is not your therapist.
Why can't I use Chat GPT as my therapist? I had somebody get upset with me, by the way. Somebody got upset with me when I said this.
I tell them try it. See how that works out for you.
Well, one of the main reasons that I tell people that Chat GPT cannot be your therapist is because Chat tells you what you want to hear. It
It's
is predictive and it tells you what you want to hear. It is not going to tell you, hey, uh, it's not going to tell you the things that you don't want to hear. It's not going to be able to dissect those things and identify those things. So you really want to have this is now I'm biased. I definitely think therapy is something that people can always pull from, take from if you have the right therapist. I'm not saying that people don't have terrible therapy interactions. But
right.
if you have the right therapist, that person can help you process some things, understand some things in a different way that you might not have understood it before, and be able to move along in a healthy way and to feel better, to just be relieved in your body, to have a freedom where that heaviness doesn't sit on your chest, your shoulders not tight, you feel good. You can have that experience with a therapist. The other thing is you want community around it. Like community is one of those things that helps us to heal, which is why we're here in the Black Joy group because
Right.
community helps us heal. We want um your relationships with healthy people. There are also things that help us heal, but ChatGPT is a tool. And you can use the tool, but you cannot make that tool be your end all be all, your therapist or and we know, we know when when somebody wrote something from Chat GPT. Is it not like a pet peeve of yours when you see something and I'm like, this whole thing was written,
It's so clear.
you're not going to even try to
It's so
and it also hurts me when I talk to people and they have no idea that was that somebody did that through Chat GPT.
exactly. Yeah. There's no evaluation, no analysis, nothing in terms of awareness. I mean that it's just it's like you remember Acme on like Bugs Bunny and stuff, everything made by Acme.
Oh yeah. Hey, yeah, I can see the I can see the sign now and everything.
It's a sign of acne. So but kind of thinking again about these events that are happening in our world that are pervasive and um, directly related to our lives that we may just not even think about because what we are thinking about is I need food on my table, I need to
Hmm.
pay my rent, um, I'm trying to make ends meet, and I got no time to think about, for example, the Save Act, right? What is a Save Act? That's another important piece of legislation that just passed in the House of Representatives. Um, that's going to be directly related to all of us and may disenfranchise millions and millions, especially of women. And let me just give you what that acronym means. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, which requires voters to provide documentary proof of citizenship at the time of registration and a photo ID at the time of voting. It passed the House of Representatives. Um, Here's the issue: the name has got to be the same on both pieces of identification.
Who is that a problem for?
That's going to be a problem for a lot of women because they were married and changed their name.
Right.
Here's the other thing: you got to have two pieces. So, what's the other piece going to be?
What's the other piece?
A lot of people don't even have birth certificates, they don't even know where to get them. A lot of people don't have passports. So, what's the second piece going to be?
So I think people don't often think about this piece because they're like, why don't people have um passports? Why don't people have passports are not easy to come by. They require a
You got to pay a
significant
lot of
amount.
money.
You got to pay a lot of money for that.
But the birth certificate piece, right? Because that's going to be the thing. If you talk about documentary proof, think, okay, let me read it again. This is huge, right?
Hmm.
You've got to have, let me go back, documentary proof of citizenship and a photo ID. That documentary proof is only going to be a passport or a birth certificate. And suppose it was done, to keep out voter fraud, which is extremely low in our country, low to none, which has already been proven in the 2020 elections, proven in the courts that voter fraud is not an issue in this country. No vote, no power. I know yes, it takes your breath away.
I think people don't often realize like this is the same thing playing out over and over again. We had poll taxes before. We
Yeah,
had literacy tests before.
yes.
And people say, "Oh, well, you know what? I mean, what's the big deal? Why shouldn't you have ID when you go to the polls?" There are states like New Jersey that don't require you to have a state ID to go to the poll, but you have to have some form of identification. So it can be your voter registration card, it can be some form of identification, something that identifies that you are who you say you are. But to require people to have this specific documentation is going to create it's slated to create some wild amount of people. I had looked it up when we first started talking about it. It was a wild amount of people that would be affected or impacted by this just because of the nature of what happens to women. Like be myself. My name, I would not. It would impact me.
Not
21 million. 21 million
yeah,
voting age people.
men and women and typically people of color. Yeah. So here's where we have to plug in. This hasn't passed the Senate, right? So here's where we have to be engaged, right? Here's where we have to be a part of organizations like Win with Black Women and the NAACP, right? So
Hmm.
that we know, okay, you can just even go on Instagram and follow both of those, Men with Black Women and NAACP, because they'll let you know when you need to call your senator's office, when you need to send a email, and because they even write the emails for you to your senator's office to say, do not pass this, do not let this happen, right? And it's just one and done type of thing you need to do, because if something like this passes, what happens to your life?
Right. And I think I want to point out that joy requires our voice.
Yes.
It requires our voice.
It's again.
Our voice requires access.
Yes.
And I think, too many times I've heard people say, oh, my vote doesn't count, my vote doesn't matter. But there is this amount of fighting, this amount of trying to wipe people off the voting records and all the things that people have done. I didn't even know the poll, how the poll tax work out. If you're watching this right now, I'm not gonna go into the poll tax. Go get you a YouTube video. Let's start doing actual research. Okay. Let's start looking into different.
Yeah.
You can look up an article, ask for an article about the poll taxes and
Yeah.
how they impacted and how they affected people. Poll taxes, how literacy tests. You told people that they couldn't read,
Yeah.
forbid them to read, arrested them for being able to read, and then required that there was a literacy test that was required. So
And
this is nothing more. You're going to ask women, you're going to ask people to have this identification this way, and the names have to match. But you know that women who have been married won't have that documentation that way.
if you can
But
get
it,
the second piece, if
right.
you can even get that second piece, that documentary piece, right?
And for the people, I know there's some people who saying, well, I have my gold seal and it has my divorce paper on it or it has my marriage certificate on it, or those are barriers. You have to get extra things where a certain group of people can walk up to there and say, hey, here,
Exactly.
you have to pull that up. You have to store that document. You have to keep that document. You have to, if you're not, you have to go down to the courthouse. You have to pay for it again. God
And
forbid you
is
don't
it,
have the money to pay for it again.
are they gonna make it acceptable? Right? Because when you deal with these southern states, because see, that's the issue you're gonna deal with. Say you come
Now,
to vote with
I
your
disagree with you on the southern states. It's because New Jersey is, oh, you mean in terms of voting? Sorry, go
yeah,
back.
and maybe New Jersey too. We'll
No,
just
no, in
say
terms of
red.
voting, let's keep it to
We'll
voting.
just
Yeah.
say red states. I'm gonna say red states because
Okay.
I didn't live in a red state. You
Because
come with your documentation and say, hey, my name was this, I have my divorce papers, I have all my documentation. They'll say, but the say that said, you gotta have these too. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, and we need this access, and this access shouldn't depend on who has the money, who has the time to go. I got to take time off from work, go down to the courthouse. I don't have no time. I ain't got no PTO. I don't. Who has the paperwork? Access as a citizen should be granted to everybody, right? Like that. That's supposed to be part of what makes this. I don't even want to say it. I ain't gonna say that.
But
But
you said something profound about how black joy connected to our voice. And all I could think of is, you know, how our grandparents or our mothers and fathers would say, you ain't gonna steal our joy. And I feel that about things around this, right? In order to staying engaged and engaged in our legacy organizations like NAACP or our
Hmm.
newer organizations like Win with Black Women that came about around Kamala Harris, right? That is a huge and powerful organization, right? Um, it is about being activated because you ain't gonna steal our joy. You ain't gonna steal our joy because we're going to do what we have to do to keep our joy.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to start doing is our paperwork parties. So we're not panicking over this paperwork, but a paperwork party so that we know. I had no idea. I mean, anybody who has gone through a marriage and a divorce or changing your name, social security, all those things that you have to do
Yes.
or you're supposed to do legally,
Yeah.
knows the hardship that it poses and that it creates in a lot of instances. If you have not had a hardship, God bless you, because
Yeah.
many of us have.
Yeah.
Um, but I
So
want to do some paperwork party so we can know what documents we need, what do we have to get together, because we don't need to panic, but we do need to plan.
I like that.
We do
We
need to
don't need to
plan.
panic. We just need to plan.
And it's a perpetual planning, which is also exhausted sometimes, but still, we need to plan. And the such is life. As long as we're here, we.
Community. What you're talking about is doing it in community.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? That just brought me back to I can remember my grandparents. I can see it in my mind's eye. I can remember seeing my grandparents helping people at their table in their house. Somebody came over with some tax stuff, and my grandfather helping them at the table. They
Mm.
were doing things in community.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
but that in that community, that thing, that relief, that's still a part of the joy.
yeah,
That knowing that somebody gets me, somebody got my back. We got this together. Like I don't have to, I'm not out here alone. And that's a lot of times when you're dealing with stuff like this, it does feel like you're alone. It
yeah,
feels like you're out here by yourself, carrying the weight of everything on your own. But that's just it's simply not how it is. So
right.
we
Yeah,
just want to make sure that we are doing that we highlight the ability and the joy in doing things in community too and
yeah.
the help how helpful it can be.
I think community is going to be the big piece when it comes to all of this stuff.
Speaking of community,
Mm.
going into our last piece is ICE, um
Yes,
and how some of those communities have banded together to make sure to ensure that people are safe in those environments.
yes. And I think we have to even be um, more aware because now that ICE is come out of Minnesota, there's still ICE is still there. It's just not as many. They have been proliferated across the country,
Mhm.
across the country.
Yeah, I think it was noted that there's a growing presence in Texas. There's a growing presence, of course, and a lot of people are confused about what you can do and what you can't do if
Yeah,
you're approached by ICE. My son is in New Jersey in school, and they were on his campus, and they were told they were given specific instructions of what to do if they were approached by ICE, which or
yeah,
even if they saw them. So I appreciate the clarity that comes from some places in leadership.
yeah. It's going to be important. And now what I will say about social media and when it comes to getting information around that, I have found good information on social media. For example, the mayor of New York, if you follow him, why does his name escape?
Mamdani.
Mandani, yeah. If you follow Mandani, he has information about how do you handle interactions with ICE on his page. And
That's
there are some
good.
others like that as well. The mayor of Chicago as well has information about how to deal with ICE if you enter. So you will find reputable people that are talking about that. Our public officials and things of that nature go and follow them, which
Yeah,
is a good thing.
because the other part of that is that fear spreads unfortunately faster than facts do.
Yes,
So having those reputable websites that you can go to and get that information from, that Mom Donnie's website is the amount of things that are happening, and he's doing a good job of posting some things in social media too, but the things that are happening that are being helpful to everyday Americans is
yeah,
um and I think the other thing that you mentioned, something that you mentioned about this immigration is that's important for us to realize and to remember as Black people is that this, although this kind of terror is not new to us, which
right,
makes it very hard for us, which makes it very heavy because one of the things that we don't talk about enough is how nobody had a problem with it when you thought it was just Black people it was happening to. But now that it's happening to other people,
right.
you want some empathy, some compassion, which we should have. But it's hard. It's
It's hard.
hard to ignore the fact that you, as when you saw Black bodies laying there, no, it was okay. It wasn't, it was excused. There was some,
Yeah,
oh, well, maybe they were just on drugs. Maybe they were just this. Maybe they were just that. So it's hard to excuse that. But it is important. It's imperative that we remember that this is not, this is also not an issue that does not incorporate or include Black people. We have Black immigrants.
exactly.
We have Black families. We have mixed people who are mixed status. And we can't ignore that excuse me, this is not an issue that we continue to bear.
Yeah, and because we have Black immigrants, like Haitians, um, and Afro Latinos, right? The targets will be on our backs um, in ways that they were not before, and so we have to be vigilant about that. Um, I guess mostly understanding that ICE is being used as a sort of a paramilitary group in the country. That is what Trump is doing. And also, there are over 1,000 sheriff and uh, oh gosh, not cops uh, in this country that have been deputized by ICE. Over 1,000 right now, and it's growing. And so they will be working with ICE in this country. And so we need to be aware of that. That when you go to the police, that's what I meant. Why couldn't I say the word?
I thought you was gonna say law enforcement. I was like, well, that must she
For
must
law
not.
enforcement. I don't know why I couldn't get it out. But so we need to realize that in some areas you may be looking for law enforcement to help you, and they're working with ICE. So find out in your area, what is happening? What is your mayor, city council, and law enforcement? What are their what's their directives in terms of working for or not working for working with ICE?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like as we wrap this up, just as a reminder of how quickly these events can turn into community trauma. We saw George Floyd.
Right.
We saw George Floyd. I want to go into um I can't think of her name in Minnesota too, right? Who was killed in her bed, sleeping in her bed
Oh,
by law enforcement. Um,
yeah, it wasn't Minnesota. You
oh, I'm gonna kick
about
myself that I can't remember that. I can't remember her name right now. Please, if you know it, put it in the comments.
right.
But and I'll put it in there because it's gonna come up too.
Right.
But anyway, how quickly these
Breonna
events.
Taylor.
Say it again.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor, Breonna Taylor, Breonna Taylor, how we saw how this news opened up nationally. Um, And what's her name? The social worker who was pulled out of her car by the police officer for smoking a cigarette.
Ooh,
Um, did you say a name?
remember that one.
What? That one's a major one.
Who was
Uh,
the social worker?
if I say when I say her name, you're gonna say, "Oh,
Okay.
uh,
It's been so many.
it's been so many. It's been so many," which adds, um,
You're not talking about Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland. Thank God. I don't know why I drew a
Yeah.
blank because my mind was not on this, but I felt like it was necessary to talk about
Yes.
the trauma that how these events can quickly turn into community trauma, and why it matters that we do this healing in community, which is why we have Black Joy,
Yes.
that we do this healing in community in relation to in relation to trauma events as well. So
Yes.
let's stay plugged in. Let's make sure you bring your questions to Black Joy. Bring your questions, bring your points, bring your relief. What do you do for relief? What do you do for passion? And remember that joy is not pretending that nothing happened. It's choosing regulation. It's choosing regulation. It's choosing truth. It's choosing community. Even in the middle of uncertainty. So I wanted to yeah, I think we had that. So that's where we're going to end at today. I want to make sure you understand, make sure you know that we're going to do our paperwork parties coming up. We have a book club coming up. Did you want to add anything, Kim, to as we
Remember choosing Black Joy is choosing to have a voice.
Black Joy is choosing to have a voice and it shouldn't cost you your money. Black choices choosing to have a voice. Show up, show up, show up, show up. Take up space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Choose Black Joy.
Choose Black Joy. Oh, wait, I'm on the. All right.